Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Better Your Business Show. Learn from our experts as we teach you how to better your business. I'm Natalie Essman, financial strategist and your host this morning. My co-host, the beautiful Shanna Mavis, executive business consultant.
Good morning. It's so good to be back. I've had a little bit of time away, but I love that I'm back and that we're talking to business owners. And we know that if you're a business owner, then you're a visionary. You are actively taking the steps to establish financial freedom and leave a legacy behind. You have goals, you have dreams, and you have the commitment to achieve them. But what you may not have, and why we bring this show to you, is to provide access to experts who can give you a real, step-by-step instructions, a roadmap of sorts to help you reach your destination without falling prey to the mindset that you have to fail to succeed. Natalie always talks about this, and one of the things that at ID Systems is our mantra is that failure is not required.
That's right. So whether you are joining us live or watching the replay, make sure you go to pillar5.com, take your free assessment, and then join us in our virtual studio so we can address any questions or concerns you have about your business throughout the show.
Today's going to be pretty exciting. We've got a familiar guest coming on, and I'm so glad to get a chance to talk to him about, such an important topic as marketing. It's something that's misunderstood. So I'm hoping that he's going to clear up some of those misconceptions and give us some real practical steps to take away in our business, because if we are not marketing correctly, we are not going to be able to get the word out. We're not going to be able to bring those customers or clients in. We're going to be kind of dead in the water, and people so much, they downplay it. A lot of business owners downplay it or misspend or spend at the wrong times. So, having advice on that is going to be amazing. I'm super excited.
It's so true. Or just even knowing how to get started in this area, right? In the 6 months that I've known Todd, I asked him today, I was like, how long have we known each other? But he's completely changed my whole perception of what marketing is, of what branding is, just how strategic it is. I think when I always thought about marketing, since it's such a creative outlet, I just looked at it as, just be creative, right? People like some content, people don't like some content. You get feedback based on what they like, and that's just kind of what you run with. But it's so much more strategic than that, which obviously being in finance, I love, because I do love that, when things are very do, and that's what marketing is. And so just being able to learn how to start the foundation for your business and then help it evolve, I think too is awesome, because people can just really spend too much time and too much money in that area, I think, in the beginning.
Absolutely. And the strategy, I'd love to hear, Todd's thoughts on strategy, because that's something that if you're not taking the time to really plan this out, what I found with a lot of companies or that I've worked with or that I've worked for is if they didn't take the time to sit and plan it out, you're going to run out of content. You start this process, or I start this campaign, and then it fizzles out. So there's no consistency in, anything, and you lose your audience that way. So super. I guess we should stop and bring on the experts.
I'm going to elaborate on that for a minute, because it's funny, because my Instagram keeps being I keep getting someone that keeps stealing my pictures and stuff and starting new profiles on Instagram. So I had one that showed up over the weekend. This person had like almost 6,000 more followers than me, by the way, right? I'm like, what are they doing? But so people were sending me messages and they're like, wow, you've arrived and blah, blah, blah. And I was laughing, because the reality is that person's taking my stuff because I'm consistent. That's the reason. They have content every day. content every day. And so it was so easy. My friends didn't even think about it. They went through my friends list. They're like, because their whole page was just me. I was an easy person from the take from. I mean, that's how I mean, kind of a weird example, but it's true to how important consistency is when we're doing these things. So we're going to bring up the professor of social media himself, Mr. Todd Social. He has done branding, marketing for big companies, NFL, Oprah, Uber. Mr. Todd Social in the house. Oh, I can't.
Any other time I pop up. Now when it's time for me to talk, it's like, oh, that's
Welcome to the show, Todd.
I'm thankful to be here, thankful to be able to have this discussion. I know for the listeners and for people seeing the replay, you won't get everything, in this, but I'll try to give you as much as possible. So then that way you understand why, having a coach or why Pillar 5 is super important, simply because a lot of people think, marketing is, say, social media, or marketing is advertising, or marketing is, a combination of both. And marketing is a sequence. It's a sequence that they don't often understand. And so you pick parts of it. So I always hear people like, oh, I've tried this or I've tried that, but they don't pick the sequence. So a lot of times I'm talking to people about systems, and we know marketing is not branding either, right? So great example. Some people ask me, some people don't. They ask me, why is my name Todd Social? And I'll tell you a quick story on that. So my actual government name is Todd Davis.
Don't tell.
But unfortunately, I was not as popular as Todd Davis from LifeLock. And, when he had his campaign where he put his social security number out, he said, oh, you can break me up. Well, what that did was that triggered his search to go up. He used marketing and basically branded his name. Meanwhile, advertising his brand. Okay. But what that did for anybody who was Todd Davis, we got pushed down. So I couldn't get found in search. So essentially, I had to figure out what I call the digital handshake, a way of telling people what I did by it within my name. So Todd Social is actually specific for people when they come and talk to me. They're like, is your real name Social? No, but it's my icebreaker. It allows me to explain to you exactly what I do. And it came out of that because that was a actual strategy.
I love it. I think it's so fitting for you. It's just perfect.
Yeah, my mom says I'm a social butterfly too.
So can we reverse engineer a little bit? Because this is something that I learned from you that I think is important. I know you talked about marketing versus branding. Can we dive a little bit deeper into what is the difference?
Okay. So branding is more about what you want your identity to really be. So for instance, big companies do this really, really well. What a BMW is. You know the brand of the BMW. You know what that stands out to be, right? That's branding. Or we know who Oprah is. We know who Ellen is. People of that nature. They are a brand. Okay, even though they're an individual, they're still a brand. Tyler Perry is a brand. But marketing is communicating what your brand does or says. So Tyler Perry does movies. Oprah is everybody's life coach. Ellen is everybody's dance partner. So that's what real marketing is. Most people don't communicate marketing because they're so embedded in their brain. They want everybody to buy into their identity. Sports teams do this well. Like you think about the Lakers, because I love me some Lakers. Everybody knows the Lakers, but the Lakers is the brand. But how do you market them? You have to market them with the players. So without the LeBrons and those people of the world, what were the Lakers? I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, a few years ago it was like, okay, but they were still the Lakers. So the brand carried on even when the marketing was lacking. So a lot of people lack in their marketing because they're so focused on their brand, they're so focused on their logos and their colors and everything else that they forget to actually market themselves.
So how does one help, or I guess understand how to get started? What do you need to know? I guess, where do we get started?
Oh, okay. Well, this is the hard question, because this is gonna be something that people don't like to hear that they actually need. First, you got to have real patience, because this is a process, and the thing that I learned over the years is, if you work with patience and you have continuous improvement, you will actually grow. If we think about today's influencers, today's society, and you know what, we were talking about this before the show started, like we were talking about TikTok, right? Well, even if you use TikTok, or you use something like Clubhouse, the consistency of what they do is right alongside their talent and what they create. So it's not like, some TikTokers got on and did one TikTok and man, it went viral and, now they blew up. They are consistently producing content. So the thing is, it starts with that patience to create first. Secondarily, then you have to say, and I'm a reverse engineer this, what is your end game? What is your actual goal? Because if you don't have a goal, then you actually don't have a plan. This is often why you need a coach, because most people just think, for instance, whatever they sell is their goal. So I'll use an example. A realtor. Is your goal to sell a house, or is your goal a listing? Because you can always sell a house, whether it's online or offline, because it's really about that close that you actually have. So that's why I love the show last week, because we were talking about language and things like that, and sales. So really, the goal is a listing, because more listings gives you the variable of the goal, more sales. So you have to get your goal correct. Then when you go get your goal correct, then you can go back to the front and say, how do I actually create my pathway towards my goal? So this is where you communicate your message. And this is where sometimes people get lost between branding and marketing, because they think, okay, I brand myself as a realtor, so people know that I sell homes, so they'll be interested. No, you have to create interest. So how do you create interest? Listings, testimonials, people you work with in the past, amounts of sales. So these are things that actually communicate your message. But that's the process to get people to understand, because it's like every creative understands this or has learned this if you work with a big agency. We have like a 30-40-30 rule, which is 30% are early adopters. They're your champions, your brand ambassadors. We call them your mamas and papas, because they will toot your horn. Everything you do is right in their eyes. They don't care. But the 40%, the middle, is really what you need to get to, because the middle is like, they're interested, but they're trying to understand you.
Right.
Okay. Because the part that a lot of people get, which is low hanging fruit, is the other 30%. They're usually the naysayers or the negative Nancy's that maybe have an interest, like they're interested in a home, but they don't have a connection with you. So they look in a different direction. So a lot of what marketing is to get people in that core area. So now your message goes out to the masses it was supposed to. Your branding reaches everybody.
It makes me think of the movie Moneyball. Have you guys seen Moneyball?
Yep.
When he talks about, right, what is the goal? Is the goal, I would think I want to hit a home run, right? I want to knock out the park, hit a home run, right? But the goal is to get on base. And it's just like you're saying, Todd, if it's listings, whatever it is, the outcome is really just to keep our bases loaded. Because if we're keeping our bases loaded, we always have someone coming home, right? There's always that coming in. So I like that you broke it down to that perspective.
So once you have your, once you have your goal, how does that help you with the strategy? I mean, I get it from just I know this is what I'm going towards, but now how do I get started? So my goal is 10 listings if I'm going with the real estate market, or my goal is $100,000 in sales if I'm just getting started. So now I know what my goal is. I know what my product is, my brand. I still need a strategy. I still need to know how to get from where I am to $100 million in sales by getting the word out. Is what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is where the process goes into play, and there's actually so many layers. Most people actually give up on it, And this is the thing: there's layers to this where it's like planning is key. So a lot of it is you project out. I'll give you a great example. So a long time ago, I was working in an agency that was underneath Amy Porterfield, and she's really known for like her webinars. And one of the things she did different with her webinars in order to actually raise up her community was she gave them a 6-month notice when she was launching her school. Okay. And in that 6 months, she nurtured them with content. So she would do videos, right? And then there was a sequence like 8 weeks before the actual opening of the school where basically it'd be like open house webinars that would be educational about what the school is going to be like. So they had 6 months of being able to do 3 things: upsell, nurture, and actually project their profit on the back end. Because now you know how many people you can get. Most people won't do that plan because they're trying to go for the immediate quick hit. They do the actual reverse. Let me, blast out these ads and see if we get a result. The problem with that conceptually is this, especially when you're in bigger industries. Unless you're with a major company, and this is where I talk about the difference between somebody at the base starting point, a small business, versus a big business. So I worked for a big business, and we did stuff with like GM. Well, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars to throw on the wall, so we could have a bunch of misses, right? But that person that I worked with before that was a real estate investor and did mobile homes. To me, he had a higher margin because we had a super low budget, but he did a lot of nurturing. He did a lot of not just campaigns to do ads, but he also did a lot of lead generation in terms of lead magnets, things that would give people information on what was the difference. So education was the core, right? So the point is that no matter, you can start from zero and you can have hyper growth. You just got to have that patience, consistency, and then be willing to educate people towards that goal, because they feel like the difference is they don't feel like you're selling them. They feel like you're their partner. You're walking them actually through the process. So a lot of people, because people buy people, that's really what it is. They buy into the persona of the person. So a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I talk to them about systems. I work with coaches. So a lot of them, are coaching other people. I'm coaching them on systems, not on to be a better coach because they've already, identified that lane, or I'm working with entrepreneurs that are successful. They're already a successful entrepreneur, but now we refine your system, because your system is what's going to keep your sequence going. But your sequence has to have that patience to get that perseverance. This is why people say to me, well, I like LinkedIn. I don't prefer Instagram. Well, is your customer preferring Instagram? It's not what you prefer.
Very true.
That's the common mistake. People say, well, this is what I like to do. I know what I like to do, but it's not about what I like to do. It's like what my customers doing. This is why these young kids are crushing it on TikTok and crushing it on Instagram and platforms. Why? Because we didn't occupy the space that was already there for us. We didn't occupy the space that was already there. It's virtual real estate. Every social network is a search engine. Every single one. But we don't utilize that because we're worried about what our result is, not what the result of the customer is.
I love that. I was working with someone once, and he just kept on going. We were talking about that, and we were looking at marketing, and I'm like, well, who are you trying to get to? What are you trying to offer them? And he's just like, well, I want, this is my audience. I know who I'm trying to reach, and I want it to be like this, and this. And I was like, okay, well, it sounds like you're building something for you, not for them, because you're not even in that demographic yet. You're trying to impose your will basically on you. I need it to look like this. And I was like, well, in the end, you're the only one that's going to be able to use that, if that's the mindset. So I love that you brought that up, because it's just like, you've got to be speaking to your audience. You've got to be where they are, not where you're most familiar or where you're most comfortable. So it's great having experts, like you, that can come in and say, hey, just a sec, who are you talking to? Because right now, if you're only focused inward, then you're going to miss that whole world, that market that you're trying to reach.
Well, the language of sales and marketing is actually a two-way street. Most people are speaking on one-way street, and they're not going the second way. So the thing is that you can't engineer somebody's interest if you don't invest in your understanding. And that's, to me, what I mean by that is, no one will be interested in you if you don't understand how to project you. We go to certain events or things in our life where we're drawn to things. I'm old school. I'm from big box retail. Where you build it, they will come, right? Well, why did they go to big box retail in the first place? They went there because it was prepared for you to actually consume. Most people online are consumers, but they don't know how to create consumption. And that is the difference. When you create consumption, you're thinking about what someone else wants to consume, not what you would actually consume.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing, I know that there's going to be a break sometime soon, but there's one thing that you said that I would love to get into, because I've had such a major problem with this: sales versus marketing. And that's the way that it's always been presented, is sales versus marketing. But it shouldn't be that way. And so I would love for you, as an expert, to say, to explain to people why it's important that these two are hand in hand, that it's not one versus the other, that, they have to work together in order for you to achieve maximum success. Or do they?
Well,
good question, Shanna.
Yeah, that is a good question. You're making me pivot now. Okay. So sales is marketing, and marketing is sales. There's no separating the two. You're marketing to sell something, and you're selling something because of how you market it. But the point is, if you don't understand, and I even learned this from really kind of listening, if you don't understand the language of sales, you could market all day. So someone, again, could market like what they offer, right? But they forget to include how to sell it. So if I'm marketing a house, I'm a realtor, I'm marketing a house, how do I actually sell it? Well, of course, the obvious is the open house. But the unobvious is you're actually selling yourself, because you're selling your expertise and your thought leadership to let someone know that this is the house for them. I know that because I have a friend who's a top producing realtor in 2 states. She started in Philadelphia area, which is a tough area. Now she's currently in Tampa Bay. And she was able to apply the same principles in both Florida and both Pennsylvania in very hard markets, to become a top producer really quick, in less than 5 years. And the reason why is because she's a phenomenal person. Like, she makes you feel like she's selling the house, she's buying the house with you. And her language, the language that she has, is very key. And like, what we started was a campaign with her, because they used to say, a lot of people used to say to her, she should be on TV, because she kind of got the, Jennifer Aniston thing going on, whatever. And I was like, well, her name's Trudy. So I said, well, you should call yourself Trudy TV, since everybody says you should be on TV, and that will stand out to people. Well, she started carrying that, and she started keeping on that, and she started using that hashtag, and she started using her Instagram. Well, guess what? Half her business is from Instagram. Because people know her, people like her, even her, her friends that she grew up with and her sisters, they're all kind of tagging it. It's all kind of like gamified for them. But what Trudy does well, because Trudy's history before she got into real estate was she was in car sales. So Trudy knows how to sell. And now she knows how to sell and market. So the point is, you got to be able to know what your sales is going to be marketed from. Are you marketing yourself? It's not just your product, but you're marketing yourself, your product, and your brand.
Awesome. Awesome stuff, Todd. We are going to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Todd Social. We'll see you soon. Go refill your drink.
How did I get involved in this? Well, I was speaking with some potential partners in our organization and trying to build out our software Pillar 5. And by connecting more experts with the business population, the small business owners, so that they can get all of the expertise that they need. Because as I always say, we only know what we know and we don't know it all. So we always have to collaborate with others. And in this process of collaborating and traveling, I was invited by another author to actually be a part of the book. And at first I was kind of leery on, becoming a part of the book. Not because I had anything against the book series, but I knew how much time I had in a day, and bringing on more work was just not something I was willing to do at the time. And then I spoke with the publisher after more discussions about the, marketing and potential. They invited me into the book as well.
Well, small business owners and entrepreneurs, here's good news for you. You don't have to try to succeed with last century's techniques. Not any longer. The series, Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner, fresh perspectives on profitability, people, productivity, and finding peace in your small business. Yes, finding peace in your business. It is possible. We have written fresh perspectives for you to learn how to win big in this century. And here's the great news. You're hearing from experts because these are #1 best-selling business books for small businesses. We hope you check that out because we do want you to win big and shine brightly in this century.
One of the problems that I've had thus far is that I'm going on my experience. I'm building a business on my heartache. And one of the things that I've had to take out of that is you can't build a business entirely on emotion. And so this allows me to take the emotion out of it. This is what you need to do, whether you like it or not.
We're back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm super excited to be here today with Natalie Essman, our financial expert, or your money expert, and Todd Social. We're so blessed to have you on here. Super excited because you're saying a lot of the things that people need to understand about marketing, just having that experience and expertise. I'm excited to see how this next half is going to go. I love that, right before break, we were talking about sales and marketing, and Tehran posted something on there. I caught it real quickly. Marketing attracts, the transaction, sales executes it. So it's looking at that beauty. I love that he said that, because that's a beautiful, just picture of how that should work, how companies should be looking at this. Because I've seen in some organizations, big and small, Sales gets a ton of money in their budget, marketing, maybe, depending on the size of that, company. So larger organizations, they have it distributed, they've gone through some of those trial and error, that the things that they had to learn in order to say, okay, we've got to have money here, we've got to have money here. Smaller businesses though, and this is something that at least I've seen, they'll focus on one or the other. They feel like they've got to, and most of the time it's sales, because they feel like that's going to be, be all end all, is I've got to get sales, I've got to get sales. But if you don't get the marketing out to, as Tayron put, attract that transaction, you can throw as much money as you want in the sales, but you're not going to, or I don't feel like you're going to grow as much as you possibly could. You're not going to reach as many clients as you could. But it's, how do they find that balance? Is there any advice for small business owners where you're, that you can give them to say, here's how you balance that?
Yes. The biggest key thing I will tell you through my experiences, my career, is this: you cannot be marketing centric, you cannot be sales centric, you have to be customer centric. If you are customer centric, then you will understand how to market to them. And then the byproduct of marketing to them is, like Tayron said, the execution of the sale. But when you're one or the other, you're divided, because you're saying you're in your head, literally, I got to make this sale. So you turn off the marketing, or you're saying in your head, I got to turn up the marketing to make this sale, right? But you basically turn the sale off. You have to find this balance of the customer, because the customer will do the more speaking than anything else that you can actually execute on your own. Because we try to will it. I know this. It's an online offline thing. Like offline, we feel like, I'm old school. Like I can go back to my guerrilla days and like real estate days. I understand it. Like you feel like you run out there with your pack of flyers and you hand out 100 and you're going to get 10 people. I get that. Online is not that. You could put 100 posts out and get one person responding. But the value of that one person is what you should learn from, because what did you do differently? So a lot of times what will happen is, and marketers do this, they're even the worst. So I'm telling on myself too. We will create marketing plans for everybody else but ourselves, because we're so focused on the creativity and the art of it and the craft that sometimes we forget how to sell for ourselves. So this is why you go back to the customer. What made the customer, energized to execute on what you offered? Okay. So it's really basically three components. It's the intro of what you're marketing. So who you are, what you are, and what you're about. It's the kind of arc of this is what the relationship will lead to, because it's a relationship. Every sales transaction is a relationship. And then this is what you should expect on the end. So when you're trying to close, you're actually writing the deliverable in there. Okay. So your deliverables there. It's not, see, a lot of people get caught up into, I got to acquire the client and then I got to give them this crazy contract. So they'll feel compelled with whatever I ask them, because we're still focused on our value. We're not focused on their value. I've had more clients with 1-page contracts than I ever had with my 18-page contracts. And a lot of it was because I learned what in listening and discovering what they wanted, not what I wanted to sell them because I needed to have that close, but what they actually wanted. And so if you identify the customer or the client, whether you say customer centered or client centered, as long as you stay there, then, when you start feeling the scales go either way, you know how to actually balance yourself, because you're going back to your center. I told this person last week, I said, when you get away from your center, you're always going to feel uneven. So you're either in a season of sales or a season of marketing when you should just be a season of your center. Because if you can build with one client, you can build into 100. And there's plenty of examples of successful people who have done that. But again, that's the patience and that's the system.
And that's cash flow versus cash spurt in your business too. So good point, Todd. So, because I like numbers, I want to know, should people be putting a certain percentage of their income towards marketing? That would be my first one. And then we've talked a lot about patience. What type of rate of return is a realistic expectation? Let's say your first year of marketing. And then where should that marketing start? Like, is it always you start in social media? Is it right? How do you know that?
So I like numbers too. I'm also a numbers person. And this is a hidden secret of really good marketers. If we're data centric first, as far as letting the data speak, the numbers will be able to tell. Because people say, okay, how can you actually grow your business online? Well, you grow your business online, but actually, doing basic things, reviewing your website traffic. We're, looking at how, your social media platforms. I'll give you a great example. I did a 2-year program with a person named Bryn Tillman. Anybody who knows her knows as well. We did a LinkedIn over lunch for 2 years. So during that 2-year period, we would do like a 10-minute thing on LinkedIn and how to use it, whether it's makeovers, profiles, so on and so forth. During that 2-year period, I ended up doubling my connections because basically we were offering just tips. She basically took it and ran with it. We had a lead calculator because we knew a lot of people who wanted to learn how to get leads, and we would give these things away. And it was just a little offering that we would give, and we got referral business from that and everything. But the reality is that the connections were more valuable to me because then the connections would come back and say, hey, that thing that you did, I know a person that I can share it with. Can you talk to them? So a lot of it was I was calculating with Bryn the data on if we had 10 people show up with everything, every event, and we would do it once a week, how much would that impact? Now that's a plan, okay? Mm-hmm. But I had to have the patience to actually go through that. So with 10 people showing up on average, even though we have more than that, our goal, each one of our goals, me and Bryn's goals, was 2 people to close or 2 people to make appointments. So she would get usually 2 or 3, I would get usually 2 or 3, and it's the process of closing from there. So essentially what we were saying is start small, and this applies to anybody. So it doesn't matter whether you're big or small. Start small, start your process, start with your data. What is your goal? So going back to the realtor, because I like to stay on task. If a realtor wants to go from selling 1 to 2 homes a year to 6 to 7 or 8 to 10, this is why they have to look at their listings. How many listings have you had over the last 6 months? And so you have to look at the data that's associated with that. And the difference is night and day. This is the reason why, and the reason why I use Realtor a lot, because I did actually do work with the National Association of Realtors, and I did actually work with some top producing realtors. And I can tell you it was night and day in some people's offices, because we would be in the same office with the same budget. One realtor would have more listings and actually more closes. The other realtor sitting 2 cubicles down or 2 offices down from that same realtor would have none. And it was when I have to go sit with them and do one-on-ones, the difference would be this one was patient and network. This one only wanted to close. Get a lead, want to close. Okay, that's fine. But your close rate has to be so much higher. And so people that sell know this. If you don't, you have to go off an average close rate. You can't go off a high close rate. So what marketers can do for people who don't know the marketing language, a marketer can help you be able to be a better closer, understand the process. So I would advocate, most of us have the ability to learn our sales process.
Looks like we have a question.
Everybody froze on
When
me.
business owners are you seeing that when business owners know their total obtainable market, what tools or ways can they find them and reach out to them?
Total obtainable market. So
what is a total obtainable market?
Yes. What is a total attainable market?
Yeah, we should start there. Good question, Shanna.
Okay.
I'm like, I know
there. Okay, what is my total attainable market? And once I know what that is, what tools or ways can I never reach out to them?
So a total attainable market is the potential of your market that you can actually acquire based upon the industry that you're in. So for instance, if we look at, say, coaching, because this may apply to a lot of coaches, there's a certain level of potential that the market can bear, meaning a certain amount of revenue that the market generates, right? I think it's 1 point something billion dollars, right? So that's total attainable market. Now, inside that total attainable market is your addressable market. What can you actually address? So your addressable market is usually what you can address locally or what you can address regionally. And then in that is where you either figure out your marketing. Are you marketing local? Are you marketing regional? Or are you marketing national? Now, a lot of people do market locally. So that could be 3% of the market or 5% of the market, the total attainable market. So a lot of times the mistake that people make is, for online versus offline, is they want to market to their local people, but they don't realize they should be marketing nationwide. And I'll show you how I reverse engineer that. I'm in Arizona right now. Okay. The best buyer for an Arizona home is either in California or New York. Why? Because they're the most active real estate investors. So if I'm working with a realtor, should I be marketing to Arizona to actually help them get listings, or should I be marketing to California and New York?
All of the above.
Correct. All the above, because she likes cash and cash is king. She markets all the above, and that's the difference. Most small businesses make themselves smaller because they're trying to go after a smaller market, not realizing that they all have the same advantage. This is the power of social media. They all have the same advantage to be a national business without having a national footprint, or a global business without being a global footprint. I was at a home show yesterday, all right, and I wanted to see these tiny homes because I'm really enamored by tiny homes. And I met a guy from Nebraska who builds these things called yurt cabins. I don't know if you ever heard of those.
Yep.
Okay. This is one of the best yurt cabins I've ever seen built, right? So I was interested. Now watch this. I asked him his process. He pulls out a pamphlet. He shows his process in the pamphlet, and he said 3 things to me. 1, I guarantee that we can build it in 2.5 months. 2, we're always going to keep it under a certain price. And 3, we can ship global. I'm sold. His marketing connected with his sales. And it made me think, if you can do that, then maybe we can work together on something, because I'm interested in this, really interested in it, right? So that's the point, is like, a lot of people sell well, a lot of people market well. It's better to sell and market well when you know what the client wants, because he actually knew what the client wanted, and he was very good at how he processed it. And he made a sale. He made several sales while I was there, but it was a connection point, and it was the offline of the flyer, him physically there, and also his online process, which I actually went to.
That's awesome. One of the questions I have, and I know we're running out of time, so I want to talk about something that we talked about before the show. And, part of the reason that we're here is because I do systems, who created Pillar 5, sponsors the show. So I want to look at Pillar 5 as a potential solution for people. We know the benefits of it. Natalie, you've spoken to those, for your own business. I've tried it out for myself. I've looked at it and I love that it gives those, here's step by step. You have to do this. You need to have a strategy for marketing. Do you have your initial, product plan? Do you have market research done? All of these things, which is great. But now, if I'm looking at that, how does that, how am I supposed to know how to do these things? It's going to tell me I need to do it. Help me understand how I'm supposed to do that. Or is there anything practical that you can give for business owners who are looking at this saying, okay, yes, I love the step by step. Now, what do I need to do?
So the thing I think about marketing is this. This is the reason why Pillar 5 is so important. So again, to everyone listening, to everyone who sees the replay, to all our strategic partners, to anyone who really is focused about business and really makes business their identity. The reason why Pillar 5 matters more than anything else is because everything that's marketing and everything that is the pillars, the infrastructure, the management, the financing, credit, affect marketing, which affects your outcome. There's no separating any of them. So it's important that a lot of people understand, even if you came to me today and said, hey, I want to market this, or I got this that I want to promote. The first thing I'm going to tell you is go to Pillar 5 first, and go through the system. Because the whole thing about marketing that is, let's say, frustrating. I know Natalie asked us before, we talked about budget, right? Most people don't make it a habit to focus on their budget. They make it their nature to ignore it.
Mm.
Because it's easier to ignore something that you know that you don't control, or you don't have information on, or you're not educated on, than it is to actually do the work. And what Pillar 5 does is help you do the work. Because when you have those 5 pillars obtained, it makes you a better marketer, it makes you a better seller, and it makes your business more cash flow friendly. But you can't get there if you're not actually doing 1 and 5. And I've seen this. I've seen great sales businesses. I've seen great marketing businesses. But it's hard to see businesses that sell, market, and are customer centered. Those are some of your top brands. And so the point of why Pillar 5 is so pivotal and so important, especially to me, is that I would rather be your coach to steer you to the right coach than to just take you in and work with you, because it'll be a long process with me if you don't have a budget. It'll be a hard process if you don't have sales, and it'll be hard because you'll be wanting sales and wanting results right away, and you got to follow the process. But once you follow the process, you can be successful, and this is why Pillar 5, I think, helps people to balance that, because it gets you out of that kind of framework of, if I don't have marketing, I can't do anything else, or if I don't have sales, I can't do anything else. So essentially, Pillar 5 is the piece that they need first, their first step, before they get to a marketing coach or anything else, because we can help, we can definitely help you identify exactly where you have to go or what you have to focus on.
That's awesome. I have, something that came to mind for me, Todd, as you were talking, and, just thinking about Pillar 5 and just the marketing journey in general. Pillar 5 works no matter what industry you're in. And pillar 5 is based on the 5 pillars: infrastructure, marketing, management, finance, and credit, which means that no matter what business you're in, no matter what industry, marketing is going to be key. But our strategies are going to change based on what business I'm doing, right? So if I'm a realtor, my strategy is going to be different than if I'm an app developer.
Yep.
But looking at that, I guess, taking it from there and knowing that marketing is broken down into so many different areas, it's not just social media. I guess I want to make sure that should there be a strategy for each type of marketing that you do? So I've got my overall marketing strategy, but then I need a separate one for social media, for any print advertising, anything like that. Or is there any such thing as print advertising anymore?
Yeah. So the truthful answer is that you should have a standard operating procedure. So this is where I would tell people to always start. Start with we would call it a 2-year plan, and I'll break it down what that means and why that's important. The first year, you're basically trying to create your system, so you're creating awareness. And anyone can actually do this and actually become successful in 2 years if they do this right. So the first year, you're creating awareness, and in that awareness, you're collecting data. The first 3 months, you're collecting data so then you can actually know how to build awareness. The next 3 months, you're using that data so you can build awareness for your community. Your community is your customers. Whether you're creating a community or you're trying to create more customers, it's the same principle. The next 3 months, you're now doing what we call a feedback or ask session with your customers. So basically, if I'm the realtor, I create this community of customers. Like, how did I sell? What was important to you? So on and so forth. So then when you go into the next series, you're now focused on how to speak to more customers in the same way, because now you're developing your language. The last 3 months of the first year, you develop what we call your marketing scope, your language, your voice, your tone, how you want to be perceived, and that's how it ties into your brand. The next year is now you have your voice, your language, your tone, your process, your system. Now you can offer service anywhere and everywhere. And now you can evaluate your leads and how they come in. And then you can get into content. But the thing is, it's a definition that I use called an opportunity gap. You have to see the opportunity between $1 million to where you're at. And you have to be honest with yourself. Some people are not ready for that because, again, it is about cash flow. So if you look at that and you set that as your roadmap, then it becomes easy to create a journey map and create a content matrix to be able to get you there. But then that's where the consistency kicks in. So when we were talking, before the show, Natalie brought up, TikTok and brought up like Instagram. And I was talking about how there's Instagram reel influencers. How did they know to just use Instagram reels only and get away from all social media? They had to start somewhere, right? And now a lot of them are like paid subscribers. They're getting paid just to create reels, or I always say this because it's always a number that blows my mind away. Kevin Hart. Everybody knows Kevin Hart and loves Kevin Hart, right?
Yes.
Every time you see a Kevin Hart post on Instagram, he's getting paid about $2 million.
Wow.
Kevin Hart don't play. But how did he know how to make that happen? He figured out that his power of his influence, and he wanted to be able to monetize. And this is how he promotes his production. This is how he promotes his events, his shows, everything else. And so this is the whole point. It took him a couple years to figure it out, but once he figured it out, he's now doing it. So this is why we create a standard operating procedure, because you're creating a roadmap for your success. So going back to why Pillar 5 is important, you gotta have a system. Pillar 5 is that system to help you create that roadmap. Then when you get with a coach, you're not getting with a coach because you want the coach to actually save you. You want the coach to actually help you get clarity and vision so you can actually follow your purpose.
So true. So is there a certain percentage that we should expect of growth during that time frame?
In the first year, I would say if you have 10% growth, that's okay, because it's actually just a rule of numbers. And this is an easy tactic. And this is a little bit of secret sauce. Spend 10 minutes a day on 3 platforms of choice. 10 minutes a day. That's it. Time yourself too. I actually would advocate making sure you time yourself and hold yourself accountable. 3 minutes a day, and I'll just use my go-tos just as an example. 10 minutes on LinkedIn, you connect with 10 connections and stop yourself. 10 minutes on Facebook, you find 10 to 20 people that you want to friend and stop yourself. 10 minutes on Instagram, you find 10 to 20 influencers or 10 to 20 people in what area of business or whatever you like, and follow them. Okay? Do that 10 minutes a day. Then every other week, the same people that you liked or you followed or you connected with, you do your own audit and you ask them a question or a series of questions. And this is where the marketing gets deep. So the only way you can connect with me to find out the rest of this is go to Pillar 5, download it, because I'm a coach there and I'll be able to give you all the information. It's a simple script that you go and you ask them, how can I help you or serve you, or is there something you can do for me? And I'm not saying it like the exact way, but I have the actual script. Sure. But the way you basically portray it is you want to see if they're interested in you or if you're interested in them. If they don't respond to you, then you move on. Okay. But if you do that, I will tell you this, and this is not a humble brag, but I know somebody who has almost 30,000 connections who did it. Me. I know somebody who has over 10,000 followers on Instagram who did it. Me. And so the point is, if I could do that for myself and I don't actually spend that much time connecting with people, imagine what the person who consistently can do 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. And that's the principle of math. So now if you spend an hour, imagine how fast you actually expedite that. So it's all about your day.
Awesome. Todd, thanks for being here with us this morning. I wish we could still see your face, but great nuggets for us. Thanks for sharing the secret sauce and the tips to marketing. You can find Todd on any social media platform, Todd Social. He's on them all. He spends a lot of time on Clubhouse, LinkedIn. He's on Instagram. He's on Facebook. I know he talked a lot about Pillar 5 this morning, going over taking your assessment. If you want to do your marketing, go over there, take your assessment. Any area, strategy, whatever part of your business that you're in, go over and take your assessment. Right?
Connect with your coach. You gotta take your assessment, connect with your coach.
Yes.
Get your cash flow right.
Cash flow. That's right. That's right. Any takeaways for you today, Shanna?
Yeah, I love that, just the breakdown of being customer focused or client focused, and starting small, just those practical steps that he was talking about. I think if any small business owner is out there and is wondering what they should do, go back and listen to that, because he's dropped a lot of really good wisdom on, you're just now getting started. Don't wait until you're, thousands of dollars and, just so stressed out. This is going to take time and patience. And so it's really, just grab a hold of what he's saying there, because those are key things that they're going to need to keep in mind as they're moving forward and building their business. So yeah, that was good for me.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Thank you to iView Systems and to the LA Tribune for sponsoring today's show. Do something today that will help you better your business. Go to pillar5.com and we will see you next Monday live.
Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.